What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers are linked to Matisse Thybulle as well as Robert Williams III. There are even reports that the Lakers are favored to land Robert Williams III. And look, I would love to land both of them. I think both of them, if healthy. That's the big kind of question mark, right? It's like, can those two stay healthy, particularly Robert Williams III? But if those two could stay healthy, we could be talking about Lakers hoisting a Larry O'Brien, because now you got a legit 3-and-D versatile wing that can defend 1 through 3, and you're getting ideal center. Talk about a guy that, the interior presence alone, his defense, his physicality, that bull in a china shop type of guy, what he could bring to this team would do wonders. Better upgrade to Jackson Hayes. Now Jackson Hayes kind of operating that third big. Not saying both guys, particularly Robert Williams, have to play 82 games. Those days are pretty much in the past. Very few guys play all 82 games in this day and age. But, can they give us at least, 60, 65, right? Maybe Matisse Thybulle, can he give us 65 to 70? That would be nice, right? Like, if you told me, like, hey, I have a crystal ball, I saw into the future, and Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams are both going to play the entire season. They're going to give you 60 games each, right? Nothing crazy. 60 games each. On top of the 60 games, they're going to be fully healthy come playoff time. You're going to be able to ride them through the playoffs and have them be in your rotation. You're going to be good, right? I would trade whatever I had to, right? Literally, whatever I had to. Because again, you start looking at all the things that the Lakers have had. Robert Williams, Matisse Thybulle, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, DeAndre Ayton, right? And then Adu Thero, see what he can do, or Thero, we can see what he can do. Right? All of a sudden, it's like now the Lakers are deep, they're versatile, you have defense, you have shooting, you have basically everything. You have scoring, you have a motivated Luka. Lakers could be the best team in all of basketball if that trade was to work out. The problem is the Lakers can't give up whatever for that trade, because you don't know if Robert Williams is going to play 20 games or 2 games, right? You don't know if Matisse Thybulle is going to be able to play, X amount of games, right? But I do think that those two, Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams III, you're hearing more and more. There's just so much smoke with it that usually there's fire, right? Portland, as far as like moving Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams III, I don't think it matters. They already have 3 other bigs. They're going with Yane Hansen as the primary backup. They have Donovan Clegan, who was really good for them last year. It's going to be the starter. It's why they got off of DeAndre Ayton. So now you have those two who are going to be playing the bulk of the minutes. Robert Williams is going to be playing trickle minutes, and then they have Diop Reith, who can give them X amount of minutes in games, and it's not counting going small and doing all those other things, right? So I think they're fine in that regard. Trading Robert Williams is not going to impact them in any way. And then same thing with Matisse Thybulle. It's like, where does Matisse Thybulle fit? They are flushed right now with guards and wings and all these other things that they're going to want to prioritize and play minutes over. So losing Matisse Thybulle, I don't even think is a big loss. And you're better to get something for them than nothing, when both guys could just leave in free agency in the offseason, just go sign somewhere, right? So it would make more sense for them to get something in return, even if it is as simple as just a Dalton Connect. Would you rather have Dalton Connect or nothing? Right? Like, it's like, hey, I'd rather have a Dalton Connect, see if that works out. If not, then you just let him walk in a couple years. No big deal. But the upside and potential is there, especially for a young team that could use some shooting and stuff. He kind of can provide that for them, and just gives them another, project piece that's just younger than both. Also, it would be kind of easy for the Lakers to go and land Robert Williams as well as Matisse Thybulle. Collectively combined, you're talking about $25 million for both. It's a little less than that, but let's call it $25 million for both. So Lakers what that could do is open a roster spot on top of it, right? And as well as clear a little salary off the top, which Portland can do. So essentially, because I'm not giving up Rui Hachimura in that deal. I'm not, right? Again, Robert Williams III is just too much of a risk. I also wouldn't want to trade for Robert Williams by himself. And I've talked about this in the Robert Williams video, where, you have to, in my opinion, you have to get Matisse Thybulle in the deal. You have to, because he's kind of the thing that justifies and offsets it, because it's too much of a mystery for Robert Williams, right? And trading Dalton Connect for Robert Williams, Dalton Connect has more value than Robert Williams, because he plays. Even if you think Robert Williams is a far better player, whatever, it doesn't matter. Best ability is availability, right? How many teams are signing up to take on Robert Williams III and his injury issues? Not very many, right? Dalton Connect, there are teams that would still take him on, right? If you could give both away for a second round pick, more teams would line up for Dalton Knecht than they would Robert Williams, just because, again, the mystery and the unknown. Right? So to me, I don't think you can get just Robert Williams. I think you have to get a Matisse Thybulle in the deal. But I'm not trading Rui Hachimura because it's too much of a risk. So you're talking Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, as well as a Dalton Knecht. If you want to throw in a second or a pick swap or something, then fine. Right, so be it. I just, because I do think the risk would be worth the reward at that point. You still have your first, you still have Austin Reeves, you still have Rui Hachimura, right? That you could, if that trade comes along at some point, you can go and make that move, and that's like $32 million in salary or whatever, right? So you still have flexibility. You're adding to the team rather than subtracting, where it's like, okay, we're sending out Rui, but we're adding in, two guys, but it's like, and you're freeing up a roster spot, clearing off a little salary, because Gabe Vincent's $11.5 million, Maxi Kleber's $11 million, so you're talking $22.5 million. You add in Dalton Knecht, who's making about $4 and some change, so you're talking 26 to maybe $27 million, sending out $25 million, right? So you'd clear about I think it's like $1.7 million off the books for the Lakers, which now they'd have about $2.9 million, to where they could go and bring in that other guy, because you'd have to fill in the roster spots. You could bring in that other guy, right? And now you're in good shape. Right? And now if you're the Lakers, maybe you're bringing in a DeAnthony Melton at that point, and you're still, $600,000 or whatever under the cap, so you're fine in that regard. Now you have your team in that 15 spot. You're adding in post trade deadline, or right before the season begins if you're good enough, right? Where you're bringing a guy in for $200,000 to finish the rest of the season, right? Something like that. I could see the Lakers kind of pulling off, and now all of a sudden, first. Portland, why would they do that? Because again, you're getting Dalton Knecht, you're getting a pick swap or maybe a second or whatever. Like, if you got to throw in the second, fine, throw in the second. So you're getting Dalton Knecht in a second. For Robert Williams, you probably only get a second for, if that. And then you're getting Matisse, you're getting off of Matisse Thybulle, who you're probably not going to get a huge farm for anyway, because again, they're free agents. So not only do you have the injury risk, but you also have they could just leave any team that trades for them in free agency, right? So even if that happens, like the Lakers, it would be in the Lakers' best interest to not overpay for guys like that, because there's risks, but they can also just leave, right? So if you're Portland, it's better to get something for them than nothing. Right? Gabe Vincent, you can always trade to a third. Maybe you get a third team involved, and Gabe is going to that third team. Right? Whatever. You can figure it out. You can make it happen. I also think Gabe Vincent could be good for them as far as like just that veteran, a guy that has that experience, kind of help. It's why they brought in Drew Holiday, Damian Lillard, right? Like, they keep talking about Damian Lillard being like an assistant coach type thing, the most expensive assistant, I think is what Chauncey said, jokingly. Right? So bringing in Gabe Vincent kind of gives you that guy. He clears some salary. Next season, they're going to have to start paying a couple guys, so you kind of would clear some salary, so you're not like taking on long-term money. Clear a bunch of salary, so that way you can go pay those guys. Maxi Kleber, I think, makes a ton of sense for them as like their third, fourth big, but also a guy that can slot in at the 4, stretch the floor, block some shots, do some things. So I think they would definitely be interested in a Maxi Kleber, and then again, just gives them a kind of veteran guy to help with the young guys. And then Dalton Knecht is the upside. He's the guy that you're bringing in to a young core that has upside and potential, can give you some shooting, give you some scoring, right? Be a guy that could maybe be a foundation piece for that team, get a second for the service or whatever. Boom. Now the Lakers bring in a Robert Williams, bring in a Matisse Thybulle. You got these two guys that I think really raise the ceiling for the Lakers. It's like I talked about, right? Like, you're down in the basement, and then it's like, okay, you're going to have a motivated Luka Doncic who's healthy, looks ready, looks prime, ready to go. You add in a DeAndre Ayton. You add in a Jake LaRavia. You add in a Dude Thero. You add in a better year of coaching from JJ Redick. You add in, a year of training camp and chemistry and offseason and all that stuff. And then now you add in Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams. Now you're a team that's at the top. Obviously, health and all that other stuff matters, but that's all teams, right? Like, every team has to be healthy, and guys that can be healthy and stuff like that. But you wouldn't be looking for Robert Williams to be your primary starting center, or even necessarily, you don't even have to really have him be your primary backup, because you do have Jackson Hayes and stuff, right? But it gives you that luxury that you have where he can be the primary backup when he's healthy and when he's right. But if he does need time, if he needs 2 weeks off or whatever, it's not like desperation mode. It's not like, oh, now what do we do type thing, right? talking about, Matisse Thybulle comes in, just gives you that versatile defender, a guy that you could slot in at the 2, slot in at the 3. Yeah, he's like 6'5", but he's got that, 7, what is it? I think it's like a 6'11", but like 7-foot wingspan, right? That gives him the ability to defend, and he's one of the better on-ball defensive players in all of basketball. Robert Williams gives you that bull in the china shop, that just, that guy that can bang with the big boys and just do a little bit of everything. I just think if we're talking about like what moves can the Lakers make that really kind of elevates and raises the ceiling for them, provides some of what they need on top of that's realistic and can get done, I think that's the most realistic, best trade for the Lakers. I think that's the move that makes the most sense, that isn't going to break the bank, that still gives you flexibility to where if that player or that piece or whatever comes available around the trade deadline, you can make that move. If you need to, you have Mark Williams and Matisse Thybulle's salary. Let's say it's like a big piece, right? You'd still have 60 million in expiring contracts that you can now still send out if need be around the trade deadline. So Lakers would still maintain all the flexibility and everything that you need, and can now look to make other moves and do other things. And then if an Andrew Wiggins does become available, then you figure it out, right? Maybe you're trading Andrew Wiggins and Matisse Thybulle at that point, right? And sending that out instead of Gabe Vincent and that. Right? Maybe you're keeping Matisse Thybulle and you're sending out a Rui and whatever, Jackson Hayes, or whatever, however you need to figure it out, right? Maybe you're doing something and throwing in your first, and now you got Andrew Wiggins to a Matisse Thybulle, Robert Williams, especially if Robert Williams can show and stay healthy, right? Now you can justify maybe, because remember, Jackson Hayes waived his no trade clause. So anyway, as always, this is a discussion, pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.